If you've ever had a gorgeous orchid, you know that amazing feeling when it's in full, beautiful bloom. But oh man, you also know the frustration when it just stops. And getting it to flower again can feel like a total mystery. Well, today we are cracking the code. We're going to walk through the expert-backed guide to get those blooms back. Right? This is it. This is the number one question every orchid owner asks themselves. You've done everything you were told, you've kept it alive, the leaves even look pretty good, but no flowers. Here's the good news. It's probably not your fault. It's just that you've been playing by the wrong rulebook. And this is the secret right here. It's a total mind shift. The single biggest mistake we all make is treating an orchid like, well, any other plant we have in a pot. To get it to rebloom, you have to understand what it really is and what it really wants. So, the very first step is to get out of your living room, mentally anyway, and transport yourself into a steamy, tropical jungle. Because honestly, understanding where this plant comes from, its wild home, is the absolute key to unlocking everything else. Okay, this word right here, epiphyte. This is the most important piece of vocabulary you're going to learn today. This is your orchid's true identity. In the wild, it is not sitting in a pot of dirt. It's literally clinging to the side of a tree, with its roots just hanging out in the open air, getting soaked by rain, and then drying out in the breeze almost instantly. So think about it like this. Your average houseplant has its feet buried in soil that stays damp. Your orchid, the epiphyte, has its feet hanging out in the fresh air. Those roots need to breathe. And this table just lays it all out, you know? It shows you exactly why that soak and then dry completely cycle is everything, and why letting it sit in a puddle of water is one of the worst things you can do. So, how do we use this knowledge? Well, once you get that the roots need air, you can actually start to understand what they're telling you. It's kind of cool, actually. Your orchid is talking to you all the time through its roots. You just have to learn the language. Seriously, just throw away any calendar that tells you to water on Sundays. Your home's humidity and temperature change every single day, so a fixed schedule is just setting you up for failure. The experts are all in agreement on this. The gold standard is to just look at the roots. They are a perfect built-in water meter. And here's the dictionary. It's this simple. If those roots are a vibrant, bright green, they are full of water. Step away from the watering can. But when they turn that silvery, kind of ashy white color, that's the signal. That means it's thirsty and it's time to water. Now, if you see anything brown, black, or mushy, that's root rot. Those roots are already gone, so you gotta get some sterile snips and cut them off. So the actual watering method couldn't be easier. You just wait for those silvery roots to show up. Then you dunk the whole pot in some lukewarm water for about 20 minutes. You want to give that spongy outer layer on the roots, it's called the velamen, plenty of time to fully hydrate. And then, and this is the part you can't forget, you let it drain completely. It lives on a tree, not in a bog. Okay, you have officially mastered watering your orchid like a tropical downpour. Awesome. But now we have to recreate the rest of that jungle environment. We're talking about the invisible stuff all around the plant: the light, the humidity, and the temperature. Think of these as the four pillars that hold up your orchid's perfect little world, and they all work together. We're looking at really specific targets here for light, humidity, temperature, and even a little bit of air movement. Getting this balance right is what takes a plant from just kind of surviving to putting on a spectacular flower show. Let's talk energy for a second. Pushing out a flower spike and opening all those blooms, that is a massive energy expense for a plant. It can survive in pretty low light, sure, but for it to have enough fuel in the tank to actually make flowers, it needs this much light, at least 1,000 to 2,000 foot candles. Most spots in our homes just don't hit that number without a little help. Okay, next up, humidity. Now, I am sure you have heard of this little trick. You see it all over the place. You take a tray, fill it with pebbles and water, and set your plant on top. It makes sense, in theory, right? Well, the American Orchid Society, basically the highest authority on the subject, has a pretty blunt opinion on that. Their official verdict is that pebble trays are, and this is a direct quote, terribly ineffective. They just don't create enough moisture in the air to make a real difference for a tropical plant like an orchid. So if that doesn't work, what does? If you're serious about hitting that jungle-like 60 to 80% humidity target, the experts all point to one piece of equipment: a good quality ultrasonic room humidifier. It's really the only tool that can pump that much moisture into the air in a typical room. All right, we've got our water right, we've got the atmosphere dialed in. Now it's time to talk about food. Orchids are, let's say, delicate eaters. They're super sensitive to over-fertilizing, so the right strategy is all about giving them a little bit often. And the trick here is to match the food to what the plant is trying to do. When you see it pushing out new leaves or new roots, that's active growth, you give it a fertilizer that's high in nitrogen. But when you want to encourage flowers, you switch gears to a bloom booster, which is high in phosphorus. It's like giving it the right tool for the right job. The best way to remember how to fertilize is this little motto: weekly, weekly. It's perfect. You feed every week, but you dilute the fertilizer down to just 1/4 of the strength it says on the bottle. But, and this part is non-negotiable, every 4th week, you skip the food entirely, you just run plain water through the pot. This is so important because it flushes out all the leftover mineral salts that can build up and burn those delicate roots. Okay, this is it. You've done everything perfectly. The roots look amazing, the light is bright, the air is humid, your plant is happy and healthy. So what's the final piece of the puzzle? How do you send that secret signal that tells the orchid, okay, it's go time, make some flowers? And this chart right here shows you the secret weapon. It's all about a drop in temperature. See, orchids love warm, balmy days, but to kickstart the flowering process, they need a really noticeable, consistent drop in temperature every single night. This dip in temperature mimics the changing of the seasons in their natural home. So here is the exact recipe. For about 2 to 4 weeks straight, you need to make sure that the temperature at night drops by about 10 to 20 degrees from the daytime high, down to somewhere between 55 and 65 degrees. This consistent nightly chill is the specific environmental cue that flips a switch inside the plant and tells it to stop making leaves and start making a flower spike. Wow, we have covered a ton of ground, from the microscopic structure of roots all the way to triggering blooms with temperature. So let's just pull it all together into one simple final checklist. This is your expert-backed game plan. And here it is, your 5-step protocol. Number 1, control the atmosphere with a humidifier and maybe a small fan. 2, actually measure your light to make sure you're hitting that flower power number. 3, give it that chilly nighttime treatment to trigger the blooms. 4, let the roots tell you when to water. And 5, feed it weekly, and always, always flush on that 4th week. That's the whole system. So you can finally stop thinking of your orchid as this mysterious, finicky thing and start seeing it for what it is: an amazing, wild plant that just happens to live in your house. Reblooming isn't about luck or some kind of magic green thumb. It's about listening. It's about starting a conversation. And now that you finally understand its language, you're ready to hear what it has to say.